Well, and here we are in our trip to the 100% SEGURO annual conference presented by Charles Taylor InsureTech. And what better to talk to Tony Russell, the CCO, Chief Commercial Officer at Charles Taylor InsureTech. Now he's in London. Tony, thanks for your time. And the first question is, how advanced do you think was the digital transformation in Latin American insurance when COVID-19 broke out?
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah, look, it's an interesting question. I think I've enjoyed the time over the last 2 or 3 years I've been spending in Latin America and growing our business. Certainly in the insurance space, I think there's been massive opportunity to help companies become global players. We've seen a lot of interest and appetite to upgrade systems to allow them to build a platform to then build on some of the digital systems and artifacts that we have within our portfolio. Certainly, it varies a little bit by country within Latin America, and we've been very lucky to win some fairly sizable accounts throughout the region. So we're doing a lot of work with the brokers, but also the carriers as well. And everyone is looking for ways of, I suppose, improving the health of their business. In other words, trying to cut processes down and making them more efficient, whilst they're also looking to improve the wealth of their business by selling more. And that is certainly where the digital channel element is coming into play.
And do you think the impact of this pandemic has accelerated this process?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think there's been 3 phases. When the pandemic hit, and obviously it hit different parts of the world at different times. So we saw parts of the world close down and others still in operation. But obviously we now probably, although some countries are now coming out the other side. So originally we saw most companies just stop every project. They decided that there was so much uncertainty that they would just freeze all projects and all projects would be reviewed at the senior level. We then saw a phase, so phase 2, if you like, where companies decided that perhaps this pandemic was going to go on a little longer than they anticipated. So they had to start up some of the projects that they were working on. And the criteria that most decided on was that it had to provide a return in investment in the financial year, and therefore they would then continue with that project. Now, we've been very lucky with a number of organizations in LATAM where we benefited from phase 2, where they felt that the in-flight project that we'd proposed would deliver some in-year revenue benefits. Therefore, those projects have been approved. And we're now seeing a 3rd phase, which is, I guess, the economic phase, where companies are now realizing that they're going to have to be a little bit more challenging on costs because everyone is struggling. It's unilateral. The whole world is now looking at their budgets. The whole world is looking at their expenses. So we're now being challenged on some of the projects from a commercial perspective, and we're having to come up with some collaboration, if you like, on the commercial side in order to move these projects forward. But the good news is that we've won some really major business over the past 6 weeks within the Latin region, and that's really exciting.
And now that the economy is bad, the negative consequences on the region's economy are clear. Can it be a problem to this progress, or on the contrary, should digital transformation be seen as an opportunity and the best way to improve insurance ratios?
Yeah, I think that's another dynamic, and it's the cost of doing business within the LATAM region. I think some of the economies are struggling, and therefore, obviously, spending money on operational systems and systems that potentially, in the longer term might deliver value, but don't deliver value in a short time frame, are going to be a challenge. I think we're all having to accept that. I think one of the things that has possibly been supported through this pandemic is that I think the mindset has changed slightly about the value of using technology, because it's all very well having systems and solutions and technology, but unless you adopt them in the correct way, then the value is minimized. So I think what people have realized is actually the companies that have been successful during the pandemic are the guys that have got fairly slick systems supported by good technology. Those that haven't got that may have struggled a little bit more than they would have liked. So the opportunities, whilst they might be slightly different in terms of providing core systems, we're getting asked to provide a lot of satellite support systems in order to make sure that processes are stable. And that's something that I think, so I guess in answer to your question, yeah, we've seen a variation in the demand. So we're kind of seeing business process as a solution rather than some of the solutions that we have in our kit bag. So again, a change in appetite.
And Tony, which contributions may technology provide to insurers in this region? Because we talk about artificial intelligence, cloud, big data, blockchain. Where should they invest in this moment?
Okay, so I look personally. I think there's two ends of a process that need to be looked at. There's the selling end, so selling product, and that through online portals, digital capability. Because at the end of the day, if you're winning business and you're creating new opportunities and new product, that's a good thing. I think in the middle ground, there's a lot of things and work that can be done. But I think the area that we're now spending a lot of time concentrating on is the claims area of an insurance company. Because I don't know, in personal lines, for example, you and I will buy insurance. The only reason typically that we'll change insurance companies is if we have a bad claims experience. That is the way that we will register whether it's a good company or a bad company. So I think a lot of companies are looking to give their existing clients a really good client experience to retain those clients, because we all know winning new business is going to be very tough going forward. So retaining clients is the key thing, and giving them a good claims experience, but also cross-selling additional products to them is also very important. So I think opportunity for the companies to look at themselves and say, we need to increase the wealth of our company by selling more, but we just need to get smarter about how we process it. Because if we spend too much money on processing claims, then we're destroying any benefit we're getting by winning new business.
Well, the business model of Latin American companies continues to be the traditional one, mostly through insurance intermediaries, brokers, productores, as we call here, corredores. What does technology brings to that model, being that many times the channel understand technology as a threat?
Well, so I think every part of this supply chain has a role to play. I think we've got to be very careful as a vendor to not decide how the market needs to behave or react. The truth of it is organizations will work out how much the supply chain costs them and whether it's profitable or not. What we're trying to do is to make sure that every stakeholder within that supply chain adds value. And if we can do that, then actually we will cut costs from that supply chain, which currently are causing executives with insurance companies sleepless nights. In London, for example, the expense ratio of running an insurance company, typically in central London, is 41%. That means for every £1 we earn in revenue, we spend 41 pence supporting it, and that is not sustainable. It's not as much in certain other countries, but unless we keep a keen eye, and look, our traditional approach is we're a software vendor and a services and support vendor, but we've got to now understand the business so that we can become a partner. If we don't become a partner to the insurance companies and we don't deliver business outcome and we just deliver a piece of software, they're not going to survive. We need to work together in a collaborative approach to use technology as it's meant to be used. And that, again, we don't have all the answers, by the way. I don't want to shock you by saying, guys, we have all the answers. We don't. We understand technology, we understand the industry, and together with our clients, we can probably get to a very positive outcome. But it's all predicated on saving money and becoming more efficient.
And Tony, how do you analyze the InsureTech movement here in Latin America? How Charles Taylor contribute in this digital ecosystem with your experience, with your knowledge?
Okay, that's an interesting question. When we first came to Latin America, it was through winning a particular project in Peru. What we then decided to do was to recruit a sales guy to start expanding throughout the region. And Gonzalo Gao, who is now our sales director for LATAM, came for an interview and basically told me that he knew what Western companies were like. They would come in and win a deal, they would mess it up, and then he, with his company, would come in and clear it up, and they would all move on. We persuaded him that we had a different business model, that we were very keen in making sure if we were going to make an attempt to do business in the region, we would support it by taking enough time to do the job and also by investing in the region. Over the last 3 years, we've bought a company called InWorks out of Buenos Aires. We now have nearly 400 people in the LATAM arena, and we've won some pretty significant deals. So we took it seriously. And I think we're now beginning to see the fruits of our labor in that we are now being recognized as a trusted supplier. We run with most of the top brokers in the region. And as I say, people like SEGURO and a number of other fairly big carriers are now using our services. So over the past 3 years, the story has been successful. There's still a lot of work to do, and there's still a lot of people to work with. But our approach is that we will deliver an outcome. We're not just in it for a quick buck.
Well, the last question is about future. I know that it's not easy to talk about future in this coronavirus scenario. Tony, what post-pandemic scenario do you see for the Latin American insurance market? Structural changes or just the acceleration of trends that were already taking place here in our market?
Yeah, I think it's going to change. I think we've all accepted that our lives are going to change because of this situation. I was talking to somebody the other day. I said, one of the advantages of being in lockdown is I think we've moved to real time from in time. When we were in the office, we were always doing things just in time because we had other meetings, we had other distractions, we had lots of things on our plate. And that meant if we had a presentation on Tuesday, we'd just be ready in time. Because of the situation now, I feel we're getting all a lot more efficient because we have these meetings, we have a lot of conference calls via Teams, and we're actually getting on and making a lot of decisions and moving forward at probably a quicker pace. So I think that's the good thing. But I think obviously face-to-face meetings are still important. And I think it will change in terms of people being a little bit more interested in looking at how technology could solve the problem rather than in the past saying, no, we don't need to spend money on that. We can do it through this solution. And a lot of people in London have realized that the human conduit, in other words, people passing processes or supporting processes, is now no longer something that's viable. Apart from being not meeting regulation and all that sort of stuff, systems can actually support the business process more successfully, and it will free up people to do what they're good at, which is expanding, thinking about new products, thinking about their clients, and actually putting together a better insurance experience.
Well, hope to see you again here in Argentina once the situation is normalized. Tony, thank you very much.
Welcome, and thank you for your time. Thank you.